We are less than a week away from the Algorand conference, Decipher 2022. As you know, your boy FrugalBC is going to be there in person, and we are going to be covering the event. And today, I'm going to highlight some of the projects that I'm going to be talking to, look at some of the panels that I plan to cover, because I think they're going to be interesting for people on the channel, and just kind of break down what you can expect from me on today's FrugalBC. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. FrugalBC coming at you with all things Decipher 2022 today. We are going to break down what things we're going to be looking at. So I want to give you guys an idea, a sense of like what things we can expect from me at the 2022 Decipher. This is my first year going. I'm sponsored by nifgen.com. You guys definitely should check out nifgen.com. They're a great NFT platform that is launching a Patreon service for Algorand creators such as myself. And you'll be able to pay one fee and see all of our extra content, which is pretty cool. I'm going to be doing regular portfolio updates, the video version of kind of what I do for channel members here, along with other things, but that's going to be one of the main things that I'm going to do on there. So go check that out. And the other cool thing is that you guys will be able to earn coins for participating too. So there'll actually be a value to you liking or commenting and doing things like that on the platform. So it's not just a benefit to us, although we are really looking forward to that, because it'll probably make YouTube creation a reality for people in Algorand, which is pretty cool. But it's a benefit to you guys as well. But enough about that. Let's get to actual Decipher. It is in Dubai this year, which is not somewhere I ever thought I was going to go. So I'm very, very interested to see what that's like. The travel is not going to be fun. Not going to lie about that. I'm not looking forward to that travel because it's a really long, from where I am especially, it's a really long trip. You probably don't care about that. What you want to know is, what are we looking at? So first, I'm going to talk about the panels, because there's a series of panels. Some of them overlap, a lot of them don't. And so it should be interesting to see how that goes. So one of the first things we got to get out of the way is no, Sam Bankman-Fried will not be speaking at Decipher. There was some questions about that early on when all this was going down before we knew that. I mean, before things really collapsed, and there was just the talk of Binance bailing out FTX. Sam Bankman-Fried was to post a video in with a conversation with Anthony Scaramucci. You may know him as the Mooch. He used to be in Skybridge Capital, and he used to be part of the Trump administration, famously for 11 days. Instead, that whole talk has been replaced. Anthony Scaramucci and Sam Bankman-Fried, none of them are on the schedule. The talk instead is called "We Won't Be Fooled Again." Now, that, if you're wondering what that refers to, besides the obvious, it's also a reference to a song by The Who from the 1960s. Otherwise, we're going to have a kickoff with Algorand Foundation folks, just kind of giving some speeches. You know, the warden, Stacey Warden's going to be talking, along with CTO John Woods, who just had a really great Twitter Spaces. You should check that out. Pretty impressed by just his delivery, the things he said. I learned a lot about Algorand, confirmed a lot of the things I had researched on my own, as well as learning new things. Very cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he has to say, and I might try to get a short interview with him too, if I can. Another cool feature that they're going to have is they're going to have a booth set up specifically to onboard people onto Algorand. I think this is a good idea. I hope that they do this at other conferences, because I think a lot of the people, I would guess 95% of the people or better who come to Decipher already have Algorands, already in the Algorand ecosystem. So I think it would have more utility at, say, like the Tokyo Blockchain Festival, which I'm kind of thinking I might like to go to next. It just happened this year. I might do that instead of Decipher next year. We will see. Another interesting talk that I thought was interesting on the first day was, it's one about digital ownership of real estate, or excuse me, of real assets, including real estate. So they're going to have talks from people at Vesta, Lofty, and other companies related to that space. It should be interesting to see. I kind of want to talk to the Lofty guy. I'm a little miffed at Lofty for, I reached out to them well over a year ago about being on the channel, and they told me they weren't doing interviews and never got a follow-up. They went on someone else's channel, and I'm a little annoyed about that. I'm not going to lie, but minor thing. Still love Lofty, so it is what it is. Now, day two, Cliff and the folks at Alchemon will be talking about how they cracked play to earn on Algorand. Very interesting. Alchemon was one of the first games that we covered on here, and they are one of the projects that we're invited to. We'll get to that list in a second. Another one that looks really interesting is how degens are shaping Web3, and that includes including besides a bunch of NFT project developers, it also includes Cooper Daniels of Recoup YouTube channel. Should be interesting to see what he has to say. And then there's one called The Path to Mass Adoption with your girl, the Warden, along with Stacey Warden, along with some other folks. They're going to talk about mass adoption. I think that's really interesting. That's going to cap off day 2. Now, another thing to keep, and there's a couple I'm not going to necessarily cover for the channel unless it's more interesting, has more outside interest than I think it would. But there's a couple having to do with like Python and Teal and coding that I kind of just find interesting for my own sake, because I do a little coding in Python. Nothing I would brag about, I'll tell you that much. But it is interesting, and I would be curious just to hear what they have to say. I know one of the things that John Woods was working on was the toolkit that'll make it a lot easier to develop on Algorand. I think that's awesome. So I'll check those out, but they're not necessarily things I will cover for the channel. And then now I've received a list from some of the game developers who will be there, and that includes, I'm going to run through them and talk about them a little bit. We've got Alchemon, of course, which is a Pokemon-style game. I always joke, don't call it Pokemon. Cliff has been on the channel before. Very fun game. Pretty cool, because it's just one of the first that was actually playable. So it was cool to have a playable game. And then we got Avatars. Now, I just did a video on Avatars. I'm really in love with the game. And I got to admit, I was sleeping on it a little bit. I did buy a pack just to kind of have some exposure to it, but I think I might have seen it and thought, oh, cool, a strategy game. I like strategy games, and we'll buy the pack and see what happens. But as you know, one of my premises on the channel is that I don't do a review of a game or really talk too much about them until the game comes out. I did make an exception for Cosmic Champs because I felt like it was such a big player in the space, and it proved to be right. And by the way, of course, Cosmic Champs will also be there. But going back to Avatars, great game. The beta came out last week and we reviewed it, and it's one of my favorite. It might be my, well, I better not. I don't want to get in trouble. Let's just say I'm a big fan of it. Kind of brought me back to my Magic the Gathering days. Just that discovery of a new game when it's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. It kind of gave me that same feeling. And interesting, after the fact, the founder told me that that was part of that, he remembered that nostalgia himself, and that was part of their development. So very interesting. Yes, Cosmic Champs has been back right after Avatar's released its first beta. The closed beta for Cosmic Champs re-released and is now there. Now it is still closed. I mistakenly called it open beta before, and it's actually closed beta. I don't know if I did that. I might have did that on Twitter. But I always like to correct my mistakes. It is still the closed beta. You do still have to be whitelisted. And it's on Android. There's ways to play it on Windows. But like John Woods, I am also all about the Mac. So I've had to borrow an Android phone to play it, but that's okay. My Algo wallet will be there. And that was my first wallet and still my favorite. But now I use both. So the idea of a favorite doesn't really matter because I have Para on my phone and I have my Algo on the web. I generally prefer to do things on web if possible, and I have them paired together. Now, what's cool is if I ever get kicked out of my Para wallet and can't get access to it, still have my Algo, and I got the passphrase written down so I can get back in. Nimble Insurance will be back on. Now, they went on JT's channel and talked about it a little bit, but this is insurance for DeFi. Pretty interesting stuff. I haven't dove into it a whole lot, but sounds interesting. And then we have Pollinize. Now, Pollinize is the game for solving problems and trading ideas. Looks really interesting. I haven't had a chance to dive into it too much, but it sounds like an interesting idea. So we'll dive into that maybe in a future video. Then we have Starsight Labs. Now, Starsight Labs is the company behind Aegir Tactics, which is a fantasy-based card game. We have not dug into that a lot. So they have some, you can buy, I believe you can buy the cards now, but the game is not out. And as you know, our policy generally isn't to only touch on the bare surface and kind of tell you guys what it is, but not really dive in until the game's actually out. I'm happy to see that a lot of the games are actually coming out now. And that is good news. Then we have Trantorian. Now, Trantorian is basically a EVE Online style game, kind of a spacefaring ecosystem kind of a game. trailers and stuff look really, really cool. I'm pretty excited about that. Again, haven't talked a lot about this on the channel because generally that's my policy. There's not a playable game out yet, but we'll be looking forward to that one. And then Zone, Zone, we were playing Zone. I have mixed feelings about Zone. I think they got some really fun mini games. Right now, there's a bug where I'll play a game and get to the end, and it's really irritating when you get a high score. By the way, you get a high score and it tells you like something is forbidden, and it just doesn't count, and that's pretty irritating. But overall, great ecosystem. I think they got a good slate of mini games that are fun to play, which is kind of what I like. I like just kind of easy, fun games. Either fun little puzzle type games or like strategy like that. I'm not there's not a lot of games coming out for Algorand that are more like Call of Duty type stuff, and those realistic games just really don't interest me. So that's kind of my preference. A lot of the games that are coming out fit my preference, which is awesome. So now, what can you expect from me at Decipher? Well, my current plan, and this could change at any time, it's already changed a few times because really I don't know. I don't really know. I won't really know until I'm there, but my plan is to take notes at these various meetings, and then what I plan to do, because it'd be way too much video for me to gather, is like kind of do a summary of what some of the stuff I've heard, some of the news that's been broken or things about that. And I was going to intercut some of my interviews with some of these different projects, but I think I might do them separately. What I try to do is do like maybe 3 to 5 minute mini interviews with some of these creators, as many as I can do, I guess, and kind of not even release them all at once, but maybe kind of time them out for the next few days. So I'd have like content going like crazy. That's the best I can come up with. I'm open for ideas, of course, but so basically I'll record a video that night and talk about all the various things. And I don't know, there's quite a time difference, so you guys will probably get it the next day, or actually you'll get it the day before. It'll be because Dubai is ahead. So yeah, lots of logistics, and I had to think about what I really hope the interviews work out. I have a mirrorless camera that I use for photography that does take pretty good video, and I have a shotgun mic for it. I actually kind of I might take my camera along and test it out tonight in a noisy place to see if that shotgun mic does as well as I hope it does, because I definitely want you guys to be able to hear it. And I didn't buy any new equipment for this. I probably should have, but it is what it is, I guess. We'll make do with what we got. If I have to record audio on my phone and by holding it right up to them and then splicing it in, that'll take me a whole lot longer than it would otherwise. But that's what I got to do. I will make it happen. So that's my plan for Decipher 2022. That's what you can expect. I've heard there definitely will be some news dropped, but I haven't heard any like inside scoop about what some of those items might be. If you got any tips, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, BC_Kowalski, or if you just search FrugalBC, I'll come up too. Or leave it. I have an email too. You can leave it, whatever. But if there's some like inside tips you got, definitely send them my way. As always, too, anything in the Algorand space you got a tip for that's verifiable, feel free to reach out. And that'll be Decipher 2022. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to talking to people, meeting people. Maybe I should do some NFT projects, but I'm not an expert in that, so we'll see. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Again, you can subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you don't mind. That really helps us, helps more people get into Algorand, helps spread the word about Algorand. Otherwise, stay safe out there. Remember, not your keys, not your crypto. Get off of the exchanges. I'm going to keep saying that until I'm blue in the face. We got to get off of those exchanges. Use them for pass-through, but nothing else. And as always, I'll see you in Dubai.